Greetings. I'm Kathy Green with Christian News and Interviews. Go grab some tea. It's story time. Listen to this. On the evening of March 15th, David Evans posted a wistful love letter on Facebook to his wife of 30 years. Evans, the charismatic pastor of a Baptist church in a small Oklahoma city, recalled their brief courtship and his marriage proposal. 3 decades later, he wrote he hoped he could treat her just as he did back then. "I don't own her, can't control her. She's my equal partner," wrote Evans, age 50. "And I know how amazing she really is. I don't know much, but I know should keep pursuing her just like when we first met." Sounds really romantic, right, everybody? 7 days later, Evans was shot to death while he lay in bed at home. Initially, his wife, Kristie Evans, age 48, told authorities she awoke to the sound of a gunshot and found her husband bleeding. According to a probable cause affidavit released days after the killing, she said she neither heard nor saw a suspect. But on March the 25th, Kristie Evans surrendered, and according to the police, confessed to a sordid plot. Investigators said she begged a 26-year-old man with whom she and her husband had had multiple threesomes to shoot him dead. Let's pause for a minute there. She's the first lady of her church. Her husband's the pastor. So these are holy people. He's pastor. She's first lady. He's 50. She's 48. The three of them, the 50-year-old pastor, the 48-year-old first lady, and a 26-year-old young man, are engaged in threesomes. Hold that thought. The killing prompted sensational headlines, with local, national, and international media largely portraying the crime as a love triangle that devolved into murder. But interviews with Kristie Evans and her relatives and a review of private Facebook messages between the couple and their daughter provided to NBC News offer a window into a relationship that was far different than one portrayed on David Evans' public Facebook page. Now, I'm going to post this article below so you can read it for yourself, because when I know that someone can read, I won't read an entire article because I know you can read. So I'll have you to read it on your own. But I will say this. She has come up with a fantastical story. She claims that she's the victim of manipulation, that she was married to a man who manipulated her. And let's assume that she's telling the truth, that her husband, this pastor, was very manipulative, and that he threatened to commit suicide if she didn't do exactly what it was that he wanted done. So let's assume that that's all true, that he would manipulate her. If you don't do this, I'm going to commit suicide. If you don't do that, I'm going to, harm myself. Let's assume all that's true. Are you telling me that she couldn't go and get some help? Are you telling me she couldn't pick up the phone and call the police? If he's a pastor of a church, I'm assuming that there are some deacons that she could have gone to. What I'm saying is, she didn't have to have this young 26-year-old in her bed. And see, here's another thing. It was discovered that not only was the three of them having a little triangle, but it was also discovered that privately, on the side, she and the 26-year-old was having their own little private thing, just the two of them. You see what I'm saying? So there were two things going on. There was a 3-ring circus between her husband, herself, and the 26-year-old. And then it was just her and the 26-year-old. And after 30 years of marriage, she actually allowed this young man, left her door unlocked, allegedly, and allowed this young man to come in and murder her husband. Don't you know that there's some sick people out here? So she's claiming that she's the victim. She was with a man who was abusive and manipulative. Well, all that may be true, but you didn't have to allow, if it's true, a 26-year-old to come in and murder your husband. So I'd like for you all to stay posted. I'm going to follow this story. And it's just one of the sickest stories I've read in a long time. Just makes you wonder sometimes. You have to be very careful about these pastors out here, because clearly this was not a good pastor. He didn't deserve to die, but this was not a good pastor. Anytime he was engaged in threesomes, this was not a pastor I would want to sit under at all. Stay tuned.